Okay, it's 12 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. Aloha and welcome to our second annual Lunch and Learn Speaker Series. I'm Diane Bowen Coleman, and I'm the State Human Trafficking Abatement Coordinator in the Special Investigation and Prosecution Division of the Department of the Attorney General. I'm excited to introduce our speaker today. It's Carla Hauser. Carla Hauser serves as the Executive Director for Residential Youth Services and Empowerment, or RISE, a street outreach and housing program for transitioned age youth experiencing homelessness. She is passionate about her work around the health and wellness of at-risk youth and has contributed to the social work literature on youth homelessness with publications appearing in the peer-reviewed journals Child and Family Social Work and Children and Youth Services Review. Carla has also served as the program manager for the Waikiki Health Youth Outreach Program. She oversaw the teen clinic and the community health, employment, and education programs. Before arriving in Hawaii, she worked for the city of Long Beach, California, as a health and wellness coordinator for at-risk, low-income youth throughout the city. She has also been a teacher and coach in the Los Angeles community. Prior to her work with youth, Carla served as a case manager and socialization worker for the homeless communities of Los Angeles, Skid Row. Carla has her bachelor's degree in sociology from UCLA and her master's degree in social work from UH Manoa. Welcome, Carla, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Diane. Thanks, everybody. I know everyone is super busy, and especially as we're getting ready to move into a long holiday weekend. I appreciate everyone being here, and I'm not going to lie, I get a little nervous when I saw the list of folks who were joining us today. Very humbled, very honored that some really great humans in this work, in this youth work, are here also. So I'm going to do my best to not embarrass myself, but at any point after the presentation, if anyone would like to add in, please feel free. So today's topic, unsheltered youth, being able to move our most vulnerable youth out of unsheltered homelessness and really being able to reduce the risk of exploitation. As Diane said, I'm the executive director and founder of RISE, Residential Youth Services and Empowerment. Our mission really is that we work in a continuum of support that empowers our young people to move beyond homelessness. That continuum is what's really important in the work. Nobody at RISE, nobody in our circle believes that we do this work alone. We lean on many, many folks in the community to help us lift and support our young people along the way. We started in 2018, and it really grew out of a frustration. We were running incredible drop-in services, some limited transitional housing programs, but there was not that low barrier emergency shelter for young people ages 14 to 24 that they could go and get off the streets and really kind of start their journey in healing and being able to move. So when I talk about youth, I align with the federal definition of both HUD, Housing and Urban Development, and also the Adolescent Office of Adolescent Health. We work with young people ages 14 to 24. Some of the greater challenges that we can talk about later when it comes time to housing minors. And most of our housing inventory focuses on young adults ages 18 to 24. So in this presentation, I hope that you're going to be able to really take away three things. Is really kind of understanding the challenges of unsheltered youth. Also, a takeaway is how do we implement low barrier, trauma-informed, trust-building processes so that young people are willing and able to start that journey, and then pathways to safety and stability and what those look like as we help young people transition out of homelessness. So first point is really understanding the root of homelessness. Most folks are pretty aware, but when you think about what would have a young person, leave their family structure, four walls, a roof over their head, three meals, and what would make them leave that family home. And a lot of times it has to do with violence, it has to do with trauma. Sexual orientation is oftentimes a big reason, but family issues like abuse, neglect, are oftentimes the root causes at why young people will first exit and leave their homes. We also see generational homelessness. I'm sure there's a lot of folks on this call who are very aware. Grandma's been out on the beach, and you got mom and dad, and now the young person is following suit. And so being able to really, put that stick in the spoke and change the trajectory of that young person's life. We are especially focused and have a sense of urgency for our parenting and pregnant youth that are experiencing unsheltered homelessness. And then, the gaps that we see, I think Diane and I were talking about it even, before this conference started. A majority of our young people are aging out of something. So whether it's been residential treatment services, whether it's, a CSAC treatment facility, or some sort of residential emergency shelter. Oftentimes our contracts within the state focus on the minor child up to the age of 18. And then when youth turn 18, there's often big service gaps for them because they don't quite yet fit into an adult model of care. And we see that in both the mental health services, a lot of the substance abuse treatment services that are often offered. Those services for 18 to 24-year-olds are often really focused more on the adult system of care and not so much in youth and the adolescent brain development, which we'll talk a little bit about more. And then the structural inequalities. I don't know about you guys, but when I was 18, 19 years old, making minimum wage, the ability to be able to live in a $1,500 a month studio apartment or to rent a room is just not a reality for many of our young people. And then when you throw homelessness and you throw all of the compounded trauma that youth have experienced, their ability to, move forward is pretty stunted until we're able to provide that safety for them. And so for us at Rise, what's really, really important is first you have to understand what we're seeing and what our young people are up against before we can start to focus on solutions. So for the last 6 years, we have worked with UH School of Psychiatry and also UH Center on Family. In 2018, did a street youth survey. So we feel that we have a pretty good understanding and a good 5 or 6 years of data that can, tell us, what young people are experiencing. With the youth that we see, a lot of unemployment. Just about 60% of our young people, it's about 58%, have had some sort of former child welfare involvement in their lives. 45% of them have not yet finished high school. And if you are trying to get a living wage job here in Hawaii or even join the military without a high school diploma, your life is going to be pretty challenging. Despite Native Hawaiian representation on island in general being only about 23%, 51% of the youth that we see identify as Native Hawaiian. 45% say they have little to no parent involvement in their lives. Many of the youth that are coming to us, almost half of them have had some sort of diagnosis, and those range from depression, ADHD, all the way up to bipolar and some of the more severe psychotic disorders that young people in adolescence start to get diagnosed with. Overwhelming majority of our young people are survivors of some sort of violence, whether it's sexual violence, physical violence. And many of the youth, their very first experience of homelessness was at the age of 14 years old. And oftentimes that's with their families. So that gives us a snapshot of what we see every year that comes into our emergency shelter. Um, and then we look at how do we move forward. So, I've just verbally vomited, to everybody, here's all these adverse childhood experiences that young people have had. And what we know about young people and adolescent brain development, it tells us that as long as young people are in crisis, as long as they are experiencing trauma, and for these youth that are unsheltered, their trauma is compounded every single day. They are in a fight or flight mentality, and it's not until they start to feel safe that they can really start to develop that frontal cortex and start to make good decisions. So until that safety is created for them, they are going to continue to be in fight or flight mode, and they are just trying to survive. And so, what we do is not rocket scientists. The great Alika Campbell at Holly Keepa turned me on to the 5 skills for youth work, and it's something that is very much ingrained in the work that we do at Rise. It's annual training that we do. You can pick this book up for like $8 on Amazon. Make sure that anybody who works with youth really just kind of understands the guiding principles. It's pretty simple. For us, the first one is about respect, and it's respect as the verb. It's the thing that you do no matter what. It's not something that we're owed. It's not a thing. And so we work in a respectful way with youth, even when we are not being treated with respect. If a young person curses you out, if they get, and they give you attitude, so sad, too bad. This is the work. And our job is to show up every day in the 2 ways that we know how, and that's with unconditional positive regard for young people and relentless engagement. So we do not give up. Young people, are going to kind of ebb and flow, and it's really our job to be consistent for them and continue to show up every day in the same ways for them, just with unconditional positive regard. And then how we do the work, you can be a youth correctional officer, you can be a youth, a judge in family court. But it's how you do that work it's really important. It's not so much what you do, but it's how you do it. We talk a lot about being able to balance power structure. We talk a lot about making sure that young people feel safe in the work. And we say it all the time, you get one chance to make a first impression with a young person. And so if, you mess up their name, how we respond to youth is really, really important if we're going to be able to walk alongside them in this work. We also really focus on what we say as adults. We tend to adultism all over our young people. Phrases like "I think you should" usually end up with you getting a middle finger and then telling you, another way. Like I said, a lot of these young people have been on their own for a very long period of time. It is our job to walk alongside them, to present options to them, and not to judge and not to put our perspectives on young people. And then respond, not react when we are treated in a way that is, quote unquote, disrespectful. How we're able to redirect young people and not match heightened energy with heightened energy. And being able to tag team and pivot if there's something about you and your personality that triggers a youth. We're all superheroes. We just get to be superheroes for young people at different times and in different ways. And then the other big one for us is we embrace the fail. This is really big in the 5 skills FAIL for us stands for first attempt in learning. Oftentimes what happens when young people roll into our adult systems of care, we like to put applications in front of them and say, hey, here, fill this out and come back to me when it's done. Or we like to say, hey, go look at 5 apartments by yourself, pick one, come back and let me know. It doesn't work that way with young people. Same thing with their first work experiences. It's really, what did you learn in this? What do you think maybe you could have done differently? But this is where young people really have an opportunity to try, to see what they like, to explore different careers. And as long as we create that safe environment for them, young people are going to continue to explore. And our job is to give them that safety net to be able to explore those things. So, little tangent about, just really how simple this work can be if you just treat young people in a respectful way and communicate with them in the way that's necessary. Our approach to street outreach. I know you guys have heard from H3RC. There's folks from Halikipa here. You'll hear also from We Are Oceana. These are all partners with RISE in this work. Being able to meet young people where they are, to be able to go out into encampments and really approach young people in a way that feels safe for them and feels in a way that they're able, to build trust and rapport as it works for them. Street outreach is really essential. You go out with all the basic essentials, feminine hygiene, snacks, other hygiene supplies that young people need, dog food, leashes, baby supplies. So the outreach van really becomes just that mobile drop-in center. We have Wi-Fi hotspots. That's really important to young people. When you think of Maslow's hierarchy of need, you got to throw a Wi-Fi somewhere on that because young people need that in order to be able to stay connected with their peers, with their families. And also mobile outreach has also grown quite a bit for us in youth work. Being able to be accessible for our young people, whether it's through text message, through our social media platforms. Gone are the days where social workers, diversion, street outreach don't give out phone numbers. That is the means at which young people communicate. And so if we want to be able to keep that pulse with our youth, we have to create avenues in which they can communicate with us. And then the work that our entire continuum of care through partners in care leadership that really has been the focal point of the great strides that we have made in youth homelessness has been around the coordinated entry and the multiple entry points in which a youth can now seek services. So there are drop-in centers located all over island. So you've got Lydia House, you got Halikipa doing things. RISE has just opened another drop-in center in Farrington, on Farrington Highway and Waianae. And so it's really how do you operate these spaces where youth can come in, have some place to sit down, get a meal, and just start to build those trusting relationships with adults. So trauma-informed, approach. Again, understanding we use a lot of positive youth development, but again, if you're not using those 5 core competencies in being able to build that trust with young people, it really is crucial to supporting unsheltered youth. If you're a jerk, they're not going to come in. A lot of young people are on the streets because of adults, right? Because of there's either been distrust in the family home, they are aging out of a system, there's an adult that has, separated their families. And so building that trust with young people through the ways that we communicate, through the ways that we engage with them is the most crucial part in this work if we're going to be able to move those steps along. So making sure that we're non-judgmental. We all think we know what's best for young people. but it's often how do we support their dreams? We use a lot of motivational interviewing. That's again another really core fundamental um, strategy that we use, getting young people to start to elicit and think about, different change. And then, the biggest one for us, we all think that, we're these, college educated, we're super smart adults, and what we say, we're so important and we really, really matter. What we found, over these last 8 years, as it's really the peers. If you're a jerk on street outreach and you steal from everybody, young people aren't going to tell you about their safe and trusted place. And so we really rely on our peers, our young people, not just come pick the paint colors, on the walls, but how do we incorporate young people into the work? Super happy that 7 of the 44 RISE employees that we currently have are former RISE employees now. So, and they help support the work in both street outreach, housing case management, peer mentorship. And I just, I have to do a shout out to Epic Ohana. And I don't know if anybody from Epic is on here, but really they have really set the tone for what peer support and peer modeling and peer mentorship looks like. Also, the creation of the Oahu Youth Action Board, which is now under the direction with Partners in Care. But they are a group of young people with lived experience and homelessness. They have created a coordinated community plan that has 6 goals. If you have not had a chance to look at that, that can be found on the partnersincare.org website. And, young people, with the help of some community stakeholders, were able to identify the 6 goals that for them, they believed would then go on to end youth homelessness. And so a lot of those were around supports. They noticed that, every 2 years that their social worker was changing. They saw a lot of young people who were experiencing incarceration, oftentimes due to poverty, crimes of poverty, right? You go shoplift, you sleep in the park enough times, you're going to get a bench warrant, they're going to mail your court appearance to an unknown address. You're going to miss your court date. Now you're going to have, a warrant for your arrest. Now you have no way to bail yourself out because you have no money. So now you're stuck in this perpetual incarceration circle. And so because of that coordinated community plan, we've been able to create diversion programs where we work with the judiciary for a lot of our young adults, and making sure they can navigate the court processes. And so, all of that is really kind of important when we're doing youth work. And then lastly, pathways to stabilization. Our vision is that there are no homeless youth in Hawaii. Every year we'll count, roughly 300 young people experiencing homelessness. With the great work that Holly Keepa's doing, H3RC, RISE. We've got so many youth partners now that are jumping into the housing game for young people. We're seeing how incredibly difficult it is for youth who doesn't have credit history, who has not a lot of income. It's really, really difficult for them to find a landlord who is willing to step up and want to support them. So, at RISE, we've gotten, really creative. What started as just, a drop-in center and an emergency shelter. We now have 9 housing programs scattered throughout the islands. Those houses focus on everything from victims of crime. We have a house that's for youth who want a clean and sober environment. We have housing now for young people who have serious mental illness. We have housing that's just deeply affordable on the North Shore, and we have some transitional housing that has recently opened along the Waianae coast as well. So again, nothing solves homelessness faster than a home. And so if we are able to get to functional zero, and functional zero for us is that, homelessness for youth is rare. It's very, very short period of time, and that there is a plethora of choices for young people, so that they can move in and out of the system and not fall back into unsheltered homelessness ever. That we change that course in their life. And then, the long-term comprehensive, the big supports that really have to be in place. It's really difficult to survive here in Hawaii without education and without a living wage career pathway. And so a lot of the work that we do, a lot of the work that other youth partners do, is first and foremost, get focused, let's finish your high school education. And so oftentimes that looks like a 5 test GED high set, where they go through each of the subjects. And for some youth who maybe are only just a few credits shy, we will pivot young people to Penn Foster, which is an online accredited high school. Some of the drawbacks to that is it's very, very expensive, but it's online and allows young people to kind of go pursue their high school education at their own pace. And then another big part of it really is the advocacy and mentorship, allowing youth to have voice. At Rise, any of our staff that's under the age of 24 participate in the Oahu Youth Action Board. We also have internal youth advisory groups that on an annual basis will review our policies and procedures for all of our departments. And then we take that youth feedback and we incorporate it, and then we make a note of it that youth have reviewed our policies and procedures. Because, much of what we talk about is, with us, not for us. So making sure that we have those partnerships for young people. Financial literacy is also a really big one. Super excited to hear the DOE is going to put financial literacy into the curriculum for next year. It's, our young people, our job is to get them, stable, get them safe, get them excited about working, about making money. And then how do you budget for that? Having them understand their credit. You would not believe the number of young people who show up to our organization that we pull their credit report and a trusted adult in their life opened up a credit card when they were 14 years old. Or we see a lot of youth have utilities in their name when they weren't even 18 years old. And so they actually come to us and their credit is already ruined before they're the age of 18. So believe it or not, that is a lot of work that we do initially in our financial literacy, is helping to clean up credit and then getting young people to understand it, understanding budgeting before any youth moves into any of our housing. They understand what rent is going to cost, and then how do you budget for things that you want and things that you need. And also say that, we really strive for our housing to be deeply, deeply affordable. The most expensive housing that we have is $650 a month. And oftentimes our young people, when they move into housing, it's some sort of shared housing. We like our youth to feel like they are independent and to live with full-time adult support. And that gives them a sense of autonomy. And we're just kind of there to help them with their tenancy skills, conflict resolution within the house, and really just keep them on a pathway so that they're able to be successful and not fall into homelessness. So that's it. That's my presentation. I feel like I love this little slide because I feel like I've verbally vomited at the end. But anytime you have a referral, anytime you have a young person who's experiencing homelessness, we get calls from teachers at school. There's like kids that are sleeping behind backstops. We get calls from HPD. If you want to make a referral, real simple, just, call us or send an email to info@risehawaii.org. And we work really well with our other youth partners. And so if Rise is full and has a bed, then, we lean on a lot of our partners to be able to just move young people out of unshelteredness. So with that said, Diane, I'm going to turn it back over to you and see if there are any questions for folks. And I will.
Thanks, Carla. Really appreciate that. Does anyone have any questions for Carla? Well, while you're thinking about your questions, I'll give a couple of announcements. So next week, Wednesday, January 21st, we have Dr. Danielle Giroux from HPU. She's going to be presenting on understanding and responding to male victims of child exploitation. Then on Friday, January 23rd, we have Victoria Rowland from Holly Keepa, who will be speaking on human trafficking, preventing often online exploitative re-victimization. And then in the final week, we have four more presenters. Anyone with any questions? Lots of love in the chat, Carla.
Thanks, everyone. And I'll just finish. We love for folks to come up. If you're curious about RISE, if you're curious, we do have the Kawailoi Youth and Family Wellness Center, which is home to the Youth Correctional Facility and also a number of really wonderful partners that are working in collaboration with the Office of Youth Services. But that's where our emergency shelter is. You're welcome to come up. We also love it when folks bring youth-friendly clothing. Young people are always hungry, so if you want to, you work in a group and you want to bring a meal, pizza is always really popular. But just we have a lot of community support for the work that we do, and so if you're one of those folks, just mahalo you. It really does take all of us. So yeah, thanks.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us today and sharing this space. Carla, thank you. Very much appreciate you taking your time to share your Ike and Mana'o with all of us. Okay. Well, thank you, Carla, and we hope to see everyone at some of our next Lunch and Learn presentations for January 2026 Human Trafficking Awareness Month. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Carla. Very grateful.